How big of an announcement is this? As Ray Dalio said, he's in his 60s, and if he wasn't making changes at this point, that would be the surprising thing.
You know, the corporate culture there is immensely complex, and it's unique. You know, the question about David McCormick as checking up as being the head, you know, there are two really differentiating things that have to be maintained at Bridgewater. One is the corporate culture. It's absolutely unique. They have a system of total transparency, and we should talk about that because it's driven out an awful lot of talented people. Not only John Rubinstein, but they actually brought in a co-CEO in 2004. Brett McCormick, I think it was, from Verizon, and he lasted about 6 months. It's a place that has about 30% turnover in the first 2 years. You either buy into the corporate culture or you're out.
But, I mean, what's wrong with that? You buy into any corporate culture when you join a company, and there's only so much an employer can tell about you before you actually join.
That's absolutely true, but this corporate culture, I think, is much more encompassing than it would be at any firm I've ever seen.
A loaded word there, Fabio.
Encompassing is a nice word. I was going to mention that, you know, Mike Bloomberg doesn't like a lot of garbage cans around, and that's okay, but that's a mild format, mild issue relative to something that you would see there where after every meeting, they will review each other. You have something called the pain button. You can read, there was an excellent book written about it by two Harvard professors where you can actually see the transcripts of a conversation. Anyone can go and watch a video of the chairman of the firm chewing out the head of HR for failing to follow up on things. That's a difficult environment where anyone can sort of write a boss up for, you know, for anything. But the investment side is also absolutely key. And that's where I think the rubber's going to hit the road here.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, there's influence going to stick around even if the people are moving into different roles. For example, Ray Dalio himself saying he's going to be carried out, you know,
in a box,
unless they want really badly to get rid of him before then. He talks about the partnership model. You know, that's still going to be the case. So what ultimately will change? Eileen Murray has been there, and David McCormick is going to just join her now in the co-CEO role.
Right. Well, if David McCormick had been the right guy to do this, he's been around for quite a while. You know, the timing is a little bit, you know, a little bit odd. And again, you know, people have bounced in and out of this role. I think he's smart to use an insider who has bought into the corporate culture rather than risking the other part of it. But on the CIO part of it, in any macro hedge fund, you're always given different conflicting information. So, for example, if you want to, and they are very econometrically based. So if they want to make the case that the dollar is going up, they might use future growth. If someone wants to make the case that the dollar is going down, you point to these signals coming out of the trade deficit, for example. And who's making that decision? Who's tweaking? Which of the signals do we actually look at? That is sort of the challenge that exists in there. And if you listen to the pitches years ago, you know, it was really sounded like almost an econometric CTA that followed the models. When you actually talked to them, what you found was that all the time there was investors up at the top deciding, no, you know what, we think the dollar is going up, so we're going to follow the interest rate differential.
Fabio, can we tell, you know, anything about precedents? So, you know, when there's management changes in hedge funds, you know, does performance suffer? Does it get a boost? Or can we make any kind of generalizations like that, particularly in a case like Bridgewater?
Sure. It's been one of the most difficult things. Everyone says, you know, hedge funds are very, very good at building your income, but they're very, very poor at building capital. Almost every time when someone turns out the lights, the hedge fund shuts down. You look at, you know, Tiger Management continued in a different format. The number of people that have been able to actually continue after they have left is really minuscule. David Shaw has transitioned somewhat out of the day-to-day business, but it's by far the majority of them when the founder leaves, and particularly in a firm with such a important corporate culture set very much in the mold of the founder, that's going to be the challenge. But I think people like Bob Prince will run it.
That he's not leaving then, right? He's
good thing
very
for
adamant.
Yeah, good thing for